What's going on, everybody? This is Rich of Review Tech USA. It is Sunday, August 21st, 2011, and usually today is my Sunday vlog day because it's Sunday, but today I'm actually going to keep it tech, and I want to do a rant, off the cuff, no script rant about Palm, WebOS, and HP, because if you know, HP has killed off WebOS like a thief in the night. Out of nowhere, they just said, hey guys, WebOS is done. We're killing off the touchpad. We're killing off all the phones we created. That's it. We're getting out of the business when it comes to WebOS and when it comes to mobile devices. Not computers yet, but mobile devices they're done with. They're not supporting WebOS anymore. As a matter of fact, the touchpad, which it's funny because I kind of work inside the field with this stuff, and I wasn't notified about it. The touchpad was actually being sold. The 16 gigabyte was being sold for $99, and the 32 gigabyte was being sold for $150, and they're gone. It was just announced, I think, yesterday, and they are gone. You cannot find one anywhere. If you find one, buy it, because one, it's ridiculously cheap, and it's still a great tablet, and two, $99 for a full-featured dual-core tablet. Good luck finding one, but if you can, pick it up. It's funny because just a little over a year ago, Palm was picked up by Hewlett-Packard for $1.2 billion. Actually, it was in late April of 2010. And they were saying they were going to do so many exciting things with it, and they were going to bring Palm to where Palm wanted to be, because obviously HP has huge financial backing, which is really what killed Palm. Besides the fact that their phones were ugly. Their operating system was great, but their phones were ugly, and they struggled in the market. And also, they just didn't have the financial backing by themselves, Palm that is, to market their products properly. And I remember a lot of people were very excited when HP picked up Palm, because they're like, yeah, now the HP has Palm is going to do great, their products are going to be able to get out there, people are going to know their products, and they're going to become a success story. I didn't think that, and there was a few other people that didn't think that. What happens is when a major corporation, even if it's in the technology field, picks up another corporation or a smaller company that it doesn't really know too much about, it just kind of dissolves, goes away, and fails. And it's kind of like if Cuisinart picked up, a technology company, like they picked up Bethesda, the game developer. It's just, even though Cuisinart's a successful kitchen appliance company and they have a ton of financial backing to push Bethesda forward, they wouldn't know what to do with them. It's very rare that a company can be the jack of all trades and master all the trades and be a conglomerate and just run everything very well. And exactly what I predicted happened. First of all, what the hell was the HP Veer, that cell phone? The miniature, it was meant for midgets and 4-year-olds. If you saw that cell phone, they actually have the girl from iCarly in the commercials. I've used it. The buttons are ridiculously small. The screen is high resolution, but it's also very small, and it just wasn't very attractive. It almost looked like it was like a prototype unit. It had like a generic beige color to it. There was just nothing attractive about the phone. What a terrible device to use to reintroduce the WebOS operating system to the public. Every store I visited, no one sold an HP Veer. They just collected dust on the shelves, and that was the worst business decision that HP has probably ever made. Well, as of recently anyway. Terrible phone to first come out with. That phone was totally useless. It had no solid market that would be interested in it, and it was a complete failure. I actually just can't believe that was the first phone that they launched in the United States, was the HP Veer. Dear God. Now, the touchpad had a lot of potential. WebOS worked fantastic on a touchpad. WebOS is a great multitasking operating system, which is great to use on a tablet, and it could have went places. But the problem is that HP did not hype the product up at all. Companies need to learn from Apple's example and just stop copying their concepts after Apple's concepts become successful. Look at what Apple does when they introduce a new product. It is hyped up to no end. They have conferences. They have ads out months upon months before the product comes out. Until the touchpad was released, what did you see on TV about the touchpad? Nothing. There was no hype behind it. Next thing you know, they just slapped the HP touchpad in stores, and then they show commercials, and everyone was scratching their head like, oh, this is HP's touchpad? Is it Android? Is it owned by Apple? Like, what is it? What's the deal with the HP touchpad? No one knew, because they didn't have that media force behind it like Apple does. No one really does except for Apple, and I don't understand why companies don't wrap their mind around that's what helps sell a product. Now, I am thinking that there is something else going on with HP. As everyone knows, or if you don't know now, you do know, HP is looking to sell off their consumer computing business. They don't want anything to do with laptops or desktops anymore, or any mobile devices, or any consumer electronics in general. They just want to become an enterprise company like IBM is. So I'm kind of thinking what happened is that they almost had a deal solid, or there is a deal on the table that they're interested in, and they know about it. The ink just hasn't dried yet, or the ink hasn't been written on the paper, and they know it's going to happen, and they were just like, you know what, forget it. We don't care about anything anymore because we're not doing anything with consumer products, so let's just throw it out there. Whatever happens, happens, and then we'll just dump it off because we just made a shit ton of money from this other company selling off our consumer computing line to them, so we don't care anymore. So now, what happens with WebOS? If, say, it's sold to another company, can it be revived and become a viable operating system in a somewhat flooded market? I don't know. But there is some other interesting things going on. For those who don't know as well, Google is purchasing, or has purchased, or it's pretty much a done deal. They're purchasing Motorola. And there's, I think, a couple shareholders that might be against it, but all in all, it's pretty much a done deal. It's definite, and Google will own Motorola. Now, they did say that, hey, if we buy Motorola, don't worry, Android will still be an open operating system, and everyone could put it on their mobile devices, so it's not going to change. Like, it's not only going to be Motorola cell phones having Android on it. Nothing's going to change. I kind of call BS with that, because why would you buy Motorola, a company that is really big into selling Android phones, if you don't want things to be exclusive for them, or have them have first dibs on new operating systems and new features, or I should say new updates to the Android OS. Point being is, say Google becomes shady and doesn't give the newest updates to Android, to HTC, to Samsung. Say one of them buy WebOS, which is a kick-ass operating system just the way it is. They can put a spin on WebOS, put HTC Sense over it. Noah Kravitz kind of said the same thing, and I totally agree with him. And flip it and now they own WebOS. They can make their own operating systems and keep pumping out phones with WebOS on it. The problem is, though, is because it doesn't have the market penetration, there's not going to be as many applications for it, there's not going to be as much support for it, so they'd really have to do a hardcore marketing campaign to make people be interested in WebOS. They would have to have a bunch of killer app phones. I call it killer app, but killer hardware, I should say, where they're sexy phones, they're powerful phones, they have all the cool features that people want, just with WebOS on it. So it would really penetrate the market that way with a good marketing campaign and awesome hardware. But once again, though, with how flooded the market is, look how much trouble Microsoft is having making Windows 7 phones become successful. So I don't know. It's a shot in the dark, but that's the only way I could see WebOS becoming successful or penetrating the market and being a viable operating system when it comes to cell phones or smartphones. So now it's your turn to tell me your take on this. Say HTC bought WebOS and had a huge marketing campaign backing the operating system, and they came out with gorgeous phones with a ton of features. Would you buy a WebOS based phone, or would you just say, no, I'm just sticking to Android or iOS? Leave your thoughts and comments below, and as always, thank you for supporting Review Tech USA. And the picture you're seeing up there is actually the Palm Pilot I used to own back in the day when I first started college. So rest in peace, Palm. You made awesome products, and it was because of the mobile innovations that you created that we have these cell phones and smartphones that we have today. So thank you so much for that, Palm, and it's sad to see you go as a company. You were a great one. Have a good night, guys.